OCN Volume 25 Number 7, July 5, 2025. This podcast presents the audio versions of the articles and columns in this issue of OCN in the order they appeared in the paper. For details, please refer to the articles and columns, which are posted at www.ocn.me. Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, June 12, 1923, and 30, Stern replaces Havener as mayor, attempt to stop recalls fails. By James Howell and Jackie Burr-Hans. The Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, PLBOT, scheduled 4 meetings in June, a regular board meeting, an administrative hearing to address a protest against the recall of trustees Shauna Ball, Kevin Dreyer and Dennis Stern, a special meeting consisting only of an executive session, and a second board meeting. The second board meeting was moved from June 26 to June 30, after this issue of our community news went to press. It will be reported in the August issue of OCN. At the first regular board meeting, the board accepted the resignation of Mayor Glant Havener and appointed trustee Dennis Stern to complete Havener's term as mayor. The board voted to hire a third party to preside over a hearing regarding the protest of the recalls of Ball, Dreyer, and Stern. The board also heard public comments concerning Stern's appointment, the proposed Buc-ee's Travel Center, and Havener's behavior. At the recall protest hearing on June 19, resident Brian Yavanian challenged the validity of the signatures collected to recall Ball, Dreyer, and Stern, arguing that Beth Harris had provided a postal address, not a legal address, and therefore the signatures she collected were invalid. The special meeting on June 23 consisted of an executive session and a question from a resident. Publication of texts leads to Havener's exit and Stern's appointment. In the wake of the publication of texts between Havener, her friend and political ally Darcy Schoening, and Buc-ee's lobbyist Mark Waller, Havener submitted her resignation as Palmer Lake's mayor. The texts showed Havener mocking, insulting, and demeaning her constituents and the spouse of one of the trustees, often in obscene language, texting with Waller, and texting while she was participating in an executive session, which are closed to the public by law. At the June 12 meeting, the board voted unanimously to accept Havener's letter of resignation. Then Town Attorney Scott Krob explained the legalities of filling the mayoral vacancy. Krob said the vacancy could be filled by appointment or by an election. An appointment could be made immediately, he said, and a current trustee could be appointed, but they would have to resign their seat on the board to be appointed mayor. Resigning a board seat would bring any attempt to recall that board member to an end. Krob pointed out that there were many sensitive matters before the board. He recommended that the vacancy be filled as quickly as possible by someone who had participated in recent meetings, negotiations, and executive sessions. Trustee Tim Caves recommended Stern, the current mayor pro tem, to fill the vacancy, calling him the obvious choice. Stern said he was willing to resign his seat on the board. Resident Harris asked to speak, but Stern said comments would not be accepted at that time. His decision was a departure from the board's usual practice of allowing attendees to speak even outside the time allotted for public comments. Some of those present reacted angrily to Stern's decision. After Stern gavelled the crowd into silence, Ball moved to accept Stern's resignation from the board. Ball, Caves, Dreyer, trustee Amy Hudson, and Stern himself voted to accept his resignation. Trustee 8S Jerka voted no. Following that vote, Jerka asked what was best for the town and suggested someone not under the cloud of a recall, as Stern was, would be the better choice. Jerka said he wanted the decision to be open to the citizens. Jerka's remarks were applauded by the crowd. Ball said she wanted someone familiar with the annexation that was under consideration by the board, as suggested by Krob. Hudson pointed out that although Stern was under recall, the success of the recall was not certain. Ball, Caves, Dreyer, Hudson, and Stern voted to appoint Stern as mayor. Jerka once again voted no. Following the vote, Town Administrator Dawn Collins administered Stern's oath of office. Hudson was named mayor pro tem. Collins suggested a 2-week window to accept interest forms for the vacancy on the board created by Stern's resignation as trustee. During public comments, El Paso County Commissioner Bill Wysong, who represents Palmer Lake on the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, said in a republic politicians are elected to represent their voters and, you are continuing to stir the pot and it really disappoints me. The people of Palmer Lake I believe deserve to be heard. I hope Palmer Lake can come together. Wysong's remarks were met with applause. Harris, who was applauded when she rose to speak, also expressed her disappointment that a trustee facing a recall had been appointed mayor. She said it was not wise for the board to appoint a mayor. She has since announced her intention to apply for the vacancy on the board created by Stern's resignation. Resident Steve Draper reminded the board that Caitlin Quander, a land use attorney with Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck LLP, who spoke at the hearing for Bucky's second annexation petition on behalf of the Malone Family Foundation, had argued that the notification requirements for the second annexation eligibility hearing had not been met and she was ignored by the board. Draper asked that the final annexation hearing be postponed because the eligibility hearing was not valid. Nancy Godbout Jerka, who is married to Trustee 8S Jerka, discussed Havener's text messages, arguing they proved the board colluded and wants to silence the community. Goldman appointed to hear petition protest. Collins said the signatures collected to recall Ball, Dreyer, and Stern could be protested during a 15-day period following their submission for validation. That deadline was June 6. The signatures collected to place an initiative on the ballot giving residents a vote on any annexation had a 40-day protest period, which ended on June 16. During the protest periods, signatures which had been verified by the town administrator could be challenged and perhaps invalidated. If enough signatures were to be invalidated, the recall would end. Collins recommended that the petition protest hearings be presided over by a third party, not a member of the town staff. Collins recommended Karen Goldman to preside over the hearings. Goldman has extensive experience with Colorado election law, having served as deputy city clerk in Aurora, as city clerk in Lakewood and as the secretary of the Senate for the state of Colorado. Goldman has served as an election hearing officer in more than a dozen Colorado towns and cities, provides election training through the Colorado Municipal Clerks Association, and conducts election webinars through the Colorado Municipal League. The board voted unanimously in favor of Resolution 48/2025, which designates Goldman as the hearing officer at a rate of $100 per hour. Effort to stop recalls falls short. On June 19, Goldman convened a hearing to find facts and hear testimony regarding Yevanian's challenge to the petitions to recall Ball and Dreyer. Since Stern had already resigned his board seat to accept an appointment as mayor, his recall was not considered at the hearing. Goldman began by reviewing facts and events that preceded the hearing. The recall petitions were approved by Collins as to their legal form on March 24. The minimum number of signatures needed to trigger a recall was 275. The recall petitions with signatures were filed on May 21, one day before the deadline. The Ball recall petition had 304 valid signatures and the Dreyer petition had 300. On May 27, Collins determined that the signatures submitted were sufficient for the recalls to move forward. Yevanian filed his protest on June 2. Goldman explained some of the legalities of the recall. She said the burden of proof was on Yevanian to prove that his allegations were enough to overturn Collins' determination of sufficiency. Goldman said Yevanian claimed Harris erred in providing a postal address with a P.O. box, not a legal address. She said she would hear testimony only on this point, not on the broader issues regarding the recalls. She said Yevanian would testify first and could call witnesses. Then Harris or her representative would testify, and Yevanian would have a chance to respond. Goldman pointed out that the hearing was an administrative meeting, not a public hearing, so the public would not be able to comment. Goldman then swore in Yevanian, who testified that the statute governing recalls requires the address of the petition committee members and Harris had used a P.O. box, which was not a legal address. P.O. boxes can't be used to open bank accounts or start businesses, he said, because they prove nothing regarding residency. Anyone can get a P.O. box in any community. Goldman asked Yevanian if he was aware of anyone who signed the recall petition and then decided they shouldn't have because Harris had used a P.O. box. Yevanian said he was not. Goldman went on to say it was her understanding that almost everyone in Palmer Lake has a P.O. box. She asked if Yevanian was alleging that Harris was not a registered elector. He said he was not, but he said he had concerns about Harris's residency. He did not support those concerns with any facts. Goldman swore in Collins, who testified that when she received the recall petitions, she involved Judy Egbert of GovPro Consulting to assist her. Collins said she verified that the three members of the recall petition committee, Harris, Diley Fagnant, and Cody Fouts, were all registered voters by using the Colorado Secretary of State's website. Goldman asked Collins if Harris's use of a P.O. box concerned her. Collins said no since Harris was a registered voter in the town. Goldman then swore in Grace Foy, a lawyer representing Harris. Foy testified that Harris was a resident of Palmer Lake and a registered voter. The Secretary of State's website shows both Harris's P.O. box and her street address, she said. Foy noted that when the recall petitions were being reviewed for correctness by Collins, the use of a P.O. box was not a concern and proof of residency was a requirement to obtain a free P.O. box. In her concluding remarks, Goldman said she would review documents and testimony and make her decision. She asked Dreyer if he wanted to speak as he was one of the trustees being recalled. He said no. Goldman concluded the hearing. On June 22, Goldman published her conclusion that the recalls of Ball and Dreyer can proceed, and she instructed the town to set a date for the recall elections. Executive session convened, Collins announces last day. On June 23, the board met to hold an executive session. The agenda listed 3 reasons for the session: to confer with the town's attorney on legal questions regarding pending litigation, to discuss negotiations regarding filling the town administrator vacancy created by Collins' resignation, and to receive legal advice and input from the town's lawyer regarding a possible annexation agreement for a proposed Buc-ee's development. In response to a question from a resident, Collins, who had announced her resignation from her position and her acceptance of a job in Blue Earth, Minnesota previously, said her last day as Palmer Lake's town administrator would be July 17. Correction. The article covering Palmer Lake in the June issue of OCN misquoted Dan Giemond, senior principal at Economic and Planning Systems. Giemond in fact estimated Buc-ee's water consumption at 1.19 million gallons per month, not 1.19 million gallons per year, as stated in the article. The next regular board meetings are scheduled for July 10 and 24. See the town's website at www.townofpalmerlake.com to confirm times and dates of board meetings and workshops. Meetings are typically held on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month at the town hall. Information: 719-481-2953. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Monument Town Council, June 2 and 16, Council navigates development questions and compensation study, Smith appointed to the Council. By Chris Jubb. The Monument Town Council held 2 meetings in June, addressing key issues ranging from industrial development concerns to comprehensive employee compensation reforms and filling a vacant council seat. Pikes Peak Rodeo delegation promotes summer events. The June 2 meeting opened with a spirited presentation from representatives of the Pikes Peak Range Riders and the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo. Greg Budwin of the Range Riders, along with Rodeo Board Vice President Lori Carroll and Girl of the West Emma Considine, invited the council and community to the annual Western Street Breakfast, which was held on June 18 in downtown Colorado Springs. The group promoted the NFR Open at the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo, scheduled for July 8 to 12 at the Norris Penrose Event Center, featuring over $1 million in payouts for contestants from the U.S., Canadian, and Mexican circuits. Willow Springs Ranch development sparks discussion. Planning Director Dan Ungerlater presented a preliminary discussion on the proposed Willow Springs Ranch Filing No. 3, also known as the Rickenbacker property. Developer Tim McConnell of Drexel Barrel and Company outlined plans for annexing 39.6 acres to develop 38 single-family residential lots of 15,000 square feet or larger, a significant reduction from a previous proposal that called for about 100 lots. The presentation sparked a procedural debate when Councilmember Ken Kimple questioned the unusual process. "I haven't seen it done like this, that we get a presentation before the Planning Commission." Kimple asked whether this would become standard practice, noting the difficulty of having a presentation without full debate on the merits. Mayor Pro Tem Steve King pressed the developer on several concerns, including traffic access issues with the single entrance from Forest Lakes Drive and whether the proposed Rickenbacker Road exit would be permanent or emergency only. King also insisted on community engagement meetings before formal processing, noting residents in the audience. Ungerlater explained this approach followed the council's previous request for preliminary meetings on annexation proposals. King confirmed the background, referencing earlier meetings where a 100-home proposal was deemed fairly egregious, and appreciated the developer's willingness to modify plans. No formal action was taken, with the item referred to the Planning Commission for detailed review. Outdoor Storage Ordinance Approval. The Council approved Ordinance No. 10 to 2025 granting conditional use approval for outdoor storage at 836 Synthesis Avenue, though not without discussion about screening requirements and height restrictions. Property owner Chandler Knob emphasized his family's deep monument roots, noting his father founded Prescott Surgical Microscopes and the family's long-standing community ties. The Planning Commission had recommended approval with a 30-foot height restriction for stored materials. King expressed wariness due to past code enforcement issues with outdoor storage in the area, calling it a giant code issue constantly that creates ongoing compliance problems. King questioned the 30-foot height allowance, stating it was too tall for me. The debate centered on municipal code requirements versus the Planning Commission's conditions. Councilmember Laura Cronick suggested following existing code, which requires storage materials to be screened so as not to be visible from adjacent property or from public right-of-way. Unger later explained that screening height should match fence height under the code, typically 6 to 8 feet for industrial uses. Councilmember Sanaa Abbott raised concerns about neighboring crane operations and the precedent this might set. The council ultimately approved the ordinance 6-0 with modifications removing the 30-foot height restriction and defaulting to municipal code screening requirements. Water infrastructure investment addresses iron content. The council approved Resolution No. 37/2025, authorizing a construction contract with Native Sun Construction for $582,241 to install iron removal systems at wells 11, 12, and 13. Director of Public Works Thomas Tharnish explained that iron levels in these wells had been climbing, causing customer complaints about metallic taste and smell. However, the approval process highlighted ongoing concerns about contract oversight. Mayor LaKind insisted on seeing the actual contract language before final approval, demanding, not to exceed, language be included. Without a contract, this resolution will not go anywhere because I need to see the language of the contract, he stated. Councilmember Marco Fiorito agreed, noting he thought this was a resolution to start the proceedings which then would lead to us approving the contract. The resolution passed 6-0 with the understanding that the contract would return for final council review before execution, following the town's updated purchasing policy requiring council approval for expenditures over $25,000. Comprehensive compensation study addresses market competitiveness. In a move toward professional municipal operations, the council approved Resolution No. 38/2025, adopting a comprehensive salary structure and classification system developed by CBIZ consultant Taylor Sprague. The study revealed that general structure employees are currently at 98.2% of market rate, while sworn police officers are at 92.4% of market rate. The analysis recommended salary increases for 32 employees totaling $101,000, 1.6% of payroll, and established a new 16-grade salary structure with market-based positioning. The study included a 5-year planning component, with CBIZ providing annual planning letters to help the town stay current with market rates. LaKind questioned the extremely low Grade 1 minimum salary and probed the data sources used for comparison. Police Chief Patrick Reagan discussed recent incremental raises, explaining, "We gave the raise that we could afford, we didn't give the raise to fix," noting the ongoing strategy to reach market midpoint gradually within budget constraints. Both King and Cronick praised HR Director Emily Trujillo's leadership on the project. "I do appreciate the leadership you've thrown out there from an HR perspective," King stated, while Cronick thanked staff for their transparent, employee-first approach. The resolution passed 7-0 for implementation in the 2026 budget, with recognition that annual adjustments would depend on available revenue. Chad Smith appointed to fill council vacancy. At the June 16 meeting, the council addressed its vacant seat left by Jim Romanello's passing. Chad Smith, who has served 2 years on the Planning Commission including recent service as chair, was the sole applicant for the position. Smith outlined his priorities as maintaining the current council's course, emphasizing responsible growth and preserving the town's improved financial stability. When asked about Planning Commission experience preparing him for the role, Smith cited his land use knowledge, code navigation skills, and leadership development. Unger later endorsed Smith despite losing him from the Planning Commission, noting Smith's comprehensive plan work and calling for more Planning Commission volunteers. "We need 2 alternates and we need a sitting member." The council approved Resolution No. 42/2025 by a 7-0 vote, counting Smith immediately, and he was sworn in as council member at large during the meeting. Professional services agreements enhance financial management. The council approved 2 significant agreements with Wilden Financial Services to modernize the town's financial operations. Resolution No. 40/2025 authorized a cost allocation plan and fee study for $39,000, while Resolution No. 41/2025 approved a water rate study for $37,260. Finance Director Jennifer Phillips explained that the cost allocation plan would replace current lump sum estimates with specific cost tracking for services like town manager and finance director time allocated to the water fund. The plan would also enable grant administration overhead recovery for projects like Jackson Creek Parkway. The fee study would update user fees that haven't been revised since 2016. Phillips emphasized that the study would show full cost recovery for all services, but the council would make policy decisions on actual fee levels. Let's say renting a park space turns out to be $50 as full cost recovery and the council says, "No way, we want it at $20, that's your policy decision," Phillips explained. King praised the professional advancement of Phillips in her presentation. "You've taken this town from a much lower level into, like, we're a real town now." Both resolutions passed 7-0. Old Denver Road annexation completed. In what Unger later called, probably one of the easiest annexations we've ever gone through, the council completed the annexation of Old Denver Road right-of-way that the town already maintains. The two-step process included Resolution No. 43/2025, Findings of Fact, and Ordinance No. 11/2025, Actual Annexation, both passing 7-0. The 12.9-acre annexation brings the county right-of-way from West Baptist Road north to the corporate limits into town boundaries. The El Paso Board of County Commissioners unanimously approved waiving the annexation impact report, facilitating the smooth process. Council addresses development advocacy concerns. During council comments at the June 16 meeting, Mayor Pro Tem King raised concerns about his role in addressing development issues in adjacent municipalities. King explained his dilemma regarding a beacon light/county line property that previously came before Monument for multifamily annexation but was rejected based on neighborhood concerns. With a more intense use, now proposed in an adjacent municipality, King sought guidance on speaking to the media about the development's history. Attorney Bob Cole advised that speaking for the council requires bringing positions to council first and getting delegated authority, while speaking individually requires being clear about personal capacity. The council unanimously supported King providing factual history about the previous annexation process, with councilmember Kimple noting, "I'm 100% for Steve giving the history because all that is public information." King confirmed his intent to speak only about historical facts, not council positions. The Monument Town Council usually meets at 6:30 p.m. on the first and third Mondays of each month at Monument Town Hall, 645 Beacon Light Road. The next meetings are scheduled for Monday, July 7 and 21. For more information, call 719-884-8014 or visit www.townofmonument.org. To view upcoming agendas, complete board packets, or download audio recordings of past meetings, visit http://monumentonco.minutesondemand.com and click on Town Council. Chris Jub can be reached at chrisjub@ocn.me. Monument Academy School Board, June 12, 27, Board passes Sports Fairness Policy, joins in suit against CHSAA. By Jackie Burr Hans. The Monument Academy, MA, School Board met twice in June to pass a policy and join a lawsuit related to gender in sports, discuss increasing roof insurance costs, take actions, and hear committee reports. Sports Policy. Board member Karen Hoyta presented a proposed policy along the lines of parental rights and protection. Identical to policies passed in several other districts and charter schools, JBMA Preserving Fairness and Safety in Schools asserts that boys have physical advantage over most girls that are significant enough that they would displace girls if permitted to compete. It also cites safety and privacy concerns, access to scholarships, and a presidential executive order threatening to rescind educational funds. The policy asserts that genetics are determined at birth. The policy forbids boys from playing on girls' teams and girls from playing on boys' teams. It also forbids sharing locker rooms or hotel rooms. The board voted unanimously to pass policy JBMA. Board policies are available at bit.ly/mapolicies. MA joins lawsuit. Board President Ryan Graham provided background on the D49 lawsuit against the Colorado High School Activities Association, CHSAA, saying that MA has observed increasing tension between Title IX and CHSAA bylaws. He also noted that the Colorado Anti-Discriminatory Act, CADA, says that students must be allowed to participate in sports teams based on their gender identity. MA believes those requirements violate Title IX and therefore has implemented the policy JBMA, and he suggested adding MA's name as a plaintiff, noting that this might bring federal scrutiny. Vice President Lindsey Clinton moved to approve joining the lawsuit, saying that doing so codifies MA's conviction. She encouraged parents to ask questions, send emails, and make public comments if they are unsure where their school stands. Treasurer Craig Carl said that, as a father of 2 daughters who are athletes, he is deeply concerned with CHSAA's policy. He fully supports the inclusion of all students but feels that women's sports were created so they could train, compete, and excel without being at a biological disadvantage. The board voted unanimously to add MA's name as a plaintiff to the lawsuit, which names CHSAA, the Colorado Civil Rights Division, and the state attorney general. Insurance increases. At the June 10 meeting, the board heard about hail coverage changes in MA's building insurance policy and reviewed a presentation of coverage options for the following year. Finance Director Laura Poland presented options from HUB International Insurance Brokers, noting that the policy would change from a $25,000 deductible to 5%, which would be an increase to over $2 million. There was an option to buy down the deductible to 3% at a cost of $53,627, she said would save them $800,000, or to buy it down to 2% at the cost of $83,537 and savings of $1.2 million. Poland asked for the board's guidance. Graham asked if MA could exclude some insurance due to the rubber membrane roof. The board agreed to set a special meeting to discuss this and asked for more information on the current condition of the roofs and a history of claims over the last 20 years. The board met again on June 27 to discuss insurance options. Highlights. Board meeting highlights include: Spotlight. Executive Director Colin Vinchattel spotlighted outgoing board member Karen Hoyda, whose term ends on June 30. Vinchattel cited Hoyda's dedicated service and valuable contributions, saying that she saw beyond the conventional and sparked meaningful discussions that led to innovative solutions. Executive Director. Vinchattel reviewed the year's accomplishments, which included the organizational audit, development of the education philosophy statement, forging community partnerships, and financial improvements. Finance. Poland said MA completed its budget and shared with D38. She reported that MA had received 5/4 of the requested employee retention tax credit funds and deposited that money into its high-interest Colatrust accounts. The board approved removing Glenn Gustafson from the Integrity Bank signature process, leaving Graham, Poland, Carl, and Finance Assistant Dawn Bartlett. Curriculum East. Clinton shared that the committee met on May 20 to review supplemental literature for the high school ethics and morals class, reminding the board that material that is less than 25% of the curriculum does not come to the board for approval. The board approved the Colorado history curriculum. Facilities. The board accepted a proposal from ENK Paving for $37,500 to grade and compact asphalt millings on the West Campus parking lot. Contracts. The board approved a contract with Elevate Education, a company that works with program manager Janice Scala on the homeschool enrichment program. Handbook updates. The board unanimously approved the modified 2025-26 combined student handbook, added a workplace bullying section to the staff handbook, and heard the first read of the proposal to modify the athletic handbook for middle and high school. Compensation. The board approved a stipend for homeschool enrichment staff who developed the program curriculum and activities. It also increased half-day/Friday pay to $80. Board planning. The board set its retreat date for July 15 from 9 to 3 at MA's East Campus and moved its regular meeting to Thursday, July 17. Executive session. The board ended its June 10 meeting with an executive session for negotiations regarding contracted financial services. The board ended its June 27 meeting with an executive session to discuss contract negotiations regarding the executive director. The MA School Board meets at 6:30 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month. The next regular board meeting has moved to Thursday, July 17, at 6:30 p.m. at the East Campus. The agenda and packet are available at bit.ly/maboordocs. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education, June 16, Board finalizes plans for HSEA structure, approves 2025-26 budget. By Harriet Halbig. The Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education approved a contract for the construction of a permanent structure to house the Homeschool Enrichment Academy, HSEA, approved the 2025-26 district budget, approved participation in the November election, and recognized a number of individuals at its June 16 meeting. Home School Enrichment Academy structure. Because the Home School Enrichment Academy, HSEA, is currently housed in Grace Best Education Center and that facility is scheduled for demolition, a new facility is required. Over the past few months, district officials have met with representatives of manufacturers of prefabricated structures with the intent to erect one on district property south of the administration building on the current site of a playground. Chief Business Officer Brett Ridgway and Director of Planning, Facilities, and Grounds Melissa Andrews presented a history of the project and projected expense. Andrews explained that, since the building will be on a permanent foundation, a site development plan will be required. The proposed structure, consisting of 2 prefabricated units, will include several classrooms, a large area for multiple uses, and separate restrooms for students and staff. There will also be a security vestibule and an enclosed hallway between the 2 units. Andrews said that the district decided in a past meeting that the building will be level to the ground and not require a ramp or stairs to enter. Because of this, and the fact that pipes for plumbing will be below ground, significant excavation is required and insulation is needed to avoid frozen pipes. To view the PowerPoint on the project, please see board docs on the district website, lewisbaumer.org, under the Board of Education tab. In the course of the discussion, it was estimated that the total cost of the project, including the site plan and services of engineers and all permitting, will equal about $2.9 million. The approved vendor is Palomar with Wells and West acting as general contractor. During discussion, Board Secretary Dr. Patty Schenk expressed concern at the expense considering the relatively small number of students who will use the structure and the limited number of hours per week it would be in use. She suggested considering a previously built commercial building which could be renovated for this use. Schenk said that she homeschooled her son for several years and recognized the need for the HSEA but hesitated at the expense. Ridgway said that requirements for a building to house students are very rigorous, especially with respect to ventilation and safety features, and that renovating an existing building to include these features would exceed the cost of building new. Following further discussion and the desire of the board to not further delay beginning the project, the board voted unanimously to approve the contract. It is estimated that the structure will be completed and ready for occupancy beginning the second semester of the 2025-26 school year. 2025-26 budget approved. Before the regular meeting of the board, Ridgway offered a presentation on the district budget for 2025-26. He pointed out that he had updated the budget at each meeting of the board for the past several months. The presentation was part of a legally required public hearing on the subject. There was no public comment offered during the hearing. To view the PowerPoint presentation, please see board docs. The board voted unanimously to approve the budget. Election participation. 2 seats on the board are up for election this November, from Districts 1 and 3. To see a map of the districts, please see the website under the Board of Education tab. The board passed a resolution to notify El Paso County of its intent to participate in the November 4 election and notified the public that a call for nominations will be published in August. Vicki Wood was appointed as the district's election representative to the county. August 6 is the first date for circulating petitions. To appear on the ballot, an individual must have resided in the district for at least 12 months and in the district they represent for 12 months. Signatures must be those of electors in the district. A resident is ineligible to run if convicted of a sexual offense against a child. Recognitions. The board recognized the Tri-Lakes Dynamic Rotary Club for its participation in the club's Champions program. Rotary board members Christy Smith and Owen Schoolsky explained that the program recognizes student athletes in the Pikes Peak region who excel in their sport, academic excellence, and community service. 1 male and 1 female in each sport is recognized. To view a list of athletes from D38, please see board docs. About 150 student athletes are recognized each year and 27 medallion winners chosen. The highest honor is the Rotary Champion Scholar Athlete of the Year scholarship of $10,000. 2 athletes from D38 received scholarships, Connick Goodwin, a tennis player from Palmer Ridge High School, and Amara Langstaff, a lacrosse player from Palmer Ridge High School. An additional local recognition went to Palmer Ridge High School Athletic Director Lance McCorkle as the top athletic director in the Pikes Peak region. Superintendent Amber Wetstein, in her update, said the district was once again accredited with distinction for the past year. Kilmer Elementary School received the Governor's Distinguished Improvement Award, and Kilmer and Palmer Ridge High School were named John Irwin Schools of Excellence in recognition of exceeding expectations in academic excellence in math, language arts, and science. 3 district teachers were awarded STEM grants from the Rocky Mountain chapter of Armed Forces Communications and Electronics Association. These were Paula Perconti of Prairie Winds Elementary, Amy Robinson of Lewis Palmer Middle School, and Vicki Nally of Bear Creek Elementary. Ted Bauman and Rich Strom of Monument Hill Kiwanis introduced Ruby Taylor of Palmer Ridge High School, an award winner at this year's Stars of Tomorrow competition. Taylor sang a selection for those assembled. The Stars of Tomorrow competition was founded to recognize achievements in the performing arts. Career and Innovation Center update. Director of Innovation Programs Jessica McAllister and Director of Planning, Facilities, and Grounds Melissa Andrews provided an update on the Career and Innovation Center. McAllister reported that the center had received a $240,000 grant from Innovations in CTE and a donation of equipment from the Adams 14 School District worth about $188,000. Andrews reported on progress in construction at the center, saying that all inspections are going well and structural work on the interior has begun. The Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education generally meets at 6 p.m. on the third Monday of the month in the district's Learning Center, 146 Jefferson Street. The board does not meet in July. The next meeting will be on August 18th. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, June 9, 2024 Audit Finds, Clean Finances. By James Howell. In June, Uli Keeley of Prospective Business Solutions LLC, the district's auditor, gave the Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, WWSD, board the results of her audit of the district's 2024 finances. The board awarded a contract to replace water service saddles. During public comments, resident Jennifer Davis reported errors in her online bill. The board also heard operational reports. The meeting ended with an executive session. 2024 finances deemed clean. Keeley told the board her audit of the district's finances for 2024 resulted in an unmodified or clean opinion, essentially a diagnosis of good financial health. She said there were no significant findings on processes, policies, internal controls, or financial reporting. She noted some audit adjustments around investments, updates to depreciation and payables that were nothing out of the ordinary. Keeley said the district's total net position, or equity in its assets, in 2024 was just over $73 million, an increase of about $5 million over 2023. She attributed the increase to the $4.4 million in tap fees the district collected in 2024. The district collected $1.6 million in tap fees in 2023. Water and sewer tap fees are one-time charges that developers pay when they connect to the district's infrastructure. Overall, the district's actual revenues were close to budgeted expectations, while expenditures were lower than estimated due to land and easement purchases and construction projects that were postponed. The district ended 2024 with $25.7 million in cash and cash equivalents, an increase of about $1.2 million over the course of the year. In terms of debt, Keeley said the district continued to pay down $14.7 million in bonds issued in 2021, which are due in full by 2031. The bonds issued in 2021 refinance bonds issued in 2011 to purchase the Woodmoor Ranch and its water rights at a lower interest rate. District Manager Jesse Schaefer pointed out that the district's net pledged revenues were $7.6 million, or almost 4 times the district's annual debt service requirements of $2 million. Schaefer said, "We are smashing debt service coverage." Call the WWSD office at 719-488-2525 to request a copy of the audit report. Saddle replacement contract awarded. District Engineer Sidney Salins told the board that 8 bids had been received to replace 121 water service saddles and associated fittings. Saddles connect residential service lines to water mains. Salins said bids for the project ranged from $1.2 million to $614,000, with Iron Women Construction and Environmental Services LLC submitting the low bid. Salins said she spoke to 2 of the organizations Iron Women Construction supplied as references and both had favorable long-standing relationships with the company. She recommended that the contract be awarded to Iron Women Construction, adding 10% for contingencies, for a total of $675,738. The board voted to award the contract as Salins suggested. Resident reports billing error. Davis told the board she found errors in her online bill in the form of an additional $10 charge. She said the charge was labeled differently on different bills and she had to call the office to have the charge removed. She noted the charge did not appear on her paper bill but did appear on her express bill pay bill. She asked why the staff needed to devote time to correcting billing errors and why the district uses a vendor that can't permanently fix billing issues. Schaefer said he was discussing the erroneous charges with office manager Corey Lynch and billing clerk Brittany Petta, and they are considering replacing express bill pay with another service provider. Board President Brian Bush recommended that if express bill pay does not correct the problem quickly, the district should move to another provider. Operational reports. Operations Superintendent Dan LaFontaine said that 2 long-term leaks had been located that he believes have contributed to the district's water loss. The leaks have been repaired, and LaFontaine said next month's water report should show a lower percentage of unaccounted water. Salins reported that well 12R drilling was nearing completion, with 1,675 feet completed of the 1,900 feet needed. Once drilling is complete, the casing, screens, and glass beads need to be installed, test pumping needs to be performed, and water quality samples need to be tested. Salins also said that the Monument Ridge East residential development, which will be south of County Line Road and east of I-25, had submitted construction documents to WWSD. The development will consist of 340 residences. LaFontaine said 800 residential water meters remain to be replaced. He asked customers who have not received a new water meter to call the WWSD office at 719-488-2525 to schedule a replacement. The next meeting is on July 14 at 1 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the second Monday of each month at 1 p.m. at the district office at 1845 Woodmoor Drive. Please see www.woodmoorwater.com or call 719-488-2525 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Monument Sanitation District, June 18, Raspberry Point sewage spill resolved. By Jackie Burr-Hans and James Howell. In May, the Monument Sanitation District, MSD, board met briefly to hear an operational report from District Manager Mark Parker. Parker updated the board on a sewage release by Raspberry Point Townhomes in May that threatened to contaminate Monument Lake. Parker reported on a letter he had received from Buc-ee's and on the resolution of an issue with the District Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition (SCADA) software. Pine tree roots the culprit in sewage overflow. Parker told the board that a video inspection of the service line owned by the Raspberry Point Townhomes that failed on May 14, leading to a sewage spill, showed the line had been blocked by 3 feet of tree roots. An 8-inch cleanout was added to the line and no further problems have occurred, Parker said. He noted a previous repair that was pretty shoddy at best. Immediately following the spill in May, the ownership of the service line was under discussion. The Raspberry Point Townhome Homeowners Association, HOA, believed the service belonged to MSD but was unable to produce any documentation to support that belief. MSD had no records showing the district had agreed to be responsible for the line and related manhole. Parker said he was waiting to receive invoices for the work done to repair the line and the manhole before presenting them to the HOA for payment. County encourages Buc-ee's to plan Beacon Light Road work. Parker said he had received a letter from Buc-ee's regarding work that will need to be done on Beacon Light Road if its proposed travel center goes forward. The letter said El Paso County, which is planning grading and straightening improvements to Beacon Light that are independent of the proposed travel center, is pushing Buc-ee's to get the approvals required for its sewage to be conveyed to MSD's collection system. Parker said Buc-ee's would need to plan for both lift stations and gravity flow to handle their sewage. The county's plans can't proceed until Buc-ee's design is approved. Parker said Buc-ee's letter had been sent to GMS Incorporated, the district's consulting engineers. SCADA issues resolved. Parker said changes to the algorithms used by cellular service providers, that misidentified SCADA alarms as spam, had temporarily interrupted the district's SCADA system, which operates portions of the district's infrastructure. The problem was fixed, and the SCADA software is again able to send alarms by email and text. Monument Sanitation District meetings are held at 9 a.m. on the third Wednesday of the month in the District Conference Room at 130 2nd Street, Monument. The next regular meeting is scheduled for July 16. See https://monumentsanitationdistrict.org. For a district service map, see https://monumentsanitationdistrict.org/district-map. Information, 71948148886. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Donala Water and Sanitation District, June 12, Positive Audit Report, Inconsistent Waste Treatment Numbers. By James Howald and Jackie Burr-Hans. The Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD, Board met in June to hear an audit report, discuss waste treatment data discrepancies, and hear operational reports. The meeting was relocated due to the temporary closure of the district's offices. The board heard from a district consultant and learned of an additional board position for its president. The meeting ended with an executive session. Board receives a clean audit report. Tom Sister of Holting and Company Incorporated, the board's auditor, explained the audit process and thanked the district staff for being well prepared. As in the past, Holting has issued an unmodified or clean opinion. The report had no findings of note on internal controls. Highlights include: cash and investments are up by $2.8 million, tracking with changes in equity. Liabilities have decreased by $538,000 due to paying debt service as required. Tax revenue increased by 26% due to increased valuation. Capital expenditure was $1.3 million, which was similar to the previous year. Sister noted that operational expenses were up 2% compared to a 10% increase the previous year. The largest risk, he said, would be finishing a treatment plant then having the standards rise the following year. The board voted unanimously to accept the audit. Discrepancy in waste treatment data. In his report, waste plant operator Aaron Tolman reported that hydraulic loading, which is the volume of wastewater that a treatment facility must process over a given time, had risen from around 50% to 62.9%. The change came after Triview Metropolitan District, TMD, replaced a flume and installed a laser flow meter, CWP. OCN.me/V25N6TMD. Initial readings were exponentially low, at 100,000 to 200,000 gallons per day and then, after adjustments, increased to between 700,000 and over 1 million gallons per day. General Manager Jeff Hodge said that the total capacity for the Upper Monument Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility, UMCRWWTF, is 1.75 million gallons, and the state requires an action plan when the plant goes over 80% capacity. UMCRWWTF is operated by DWSD and jointly owned by DWSD, TMD, and Forest Lakes Metropolitan District. Academy Water and Sanitation District is a customer. Tolman said if the numbers were correct, they would have had to put a third basin online, but that isn't happening. Donala is working with Mark Valentine, a project manager at Merrick & Company, to review the data. Board President Wayne Vanderschwer said there would be a UMCRWWTF owners meeting on July 3 and he would make sure that this was on the agenda. Operational reports. Hodge reported that he had attended the American Water Works Association 2025 Annual Conference and Expo, ACE, including a pre-conference workshop on collaborative delivery methods. Merrick & Company, the consulting company that provides workflow management for the loop, presented the project. Burns & McDonnell, the company designing lift stations, pipelines, and water treatment for the loop, presented a similar project it is doing in Castle Rock. Superintendent of Water Operations Ronnie Wright said the Well 7D re-drilling project is going well, though a few nearby neighbors had noted the harmonics building when the drill hit clay. Wright said the next steps would be to mobilize sealibeads, a modern improvement over gravel, to screen out impurities. Sealibeads are unbreakable soda-lime glass that is free of impurities and heavy metals. Vanderschwer said he had run into contractors for MVEA drilling without a proper water and sewer locate, which could result in breakage of electrical, water, or sewer lines. Jeff Hodge said if any of Donala's lines were damaged, Donala would repair them and send a bill to the party responsible. Wright said that tickets had been filed on the incident, and he was on good speaking terms with the supervisor and superintendent. Wright also noted that work was going well on the tanks and Well 9A. Tolman confirmed that UMCRWWTF was ready to host the July meeting of the Donala board. He stated that roads were paved, sidewalks, curbs, and gutters were installed, and landscaping was completed, noting that additional paving is required near a newly constructed roundabout. Additional striping was scheduled, and the bridge is complete, Tolman said. Process control for the plant is running well, he said, giving them opportunities to adjust for efficiency. Consultant reports. Consultant Brett Gracely of LRE Water provided more detail on the Well 7D redrilling project issues with claystone and braking equipment and next steps. He also reviewed the status of water rights objector cases LRE is assisting with, as well as the successful completion of water exchange into Clear Creek, saying that the water is now in the district's Pueblo Reservoir water account and should be moved through the Northgate interchange and delivered to customers sometime in July or August to prove that the water was put to beneficial use, after which a due diligence application could be filed. Hodge said the district would coordinate closely with other projects, including water sampling for the Loop project. Gracely also reported on the status of conversations with the Colorado Division of Water Resources on exchanges with reservoirs in Aurora, but said they had some major cases involving the Lower Arkansas Water Management Association, LAMA, that seemed to be occupying them. Gracely said that attorneys were discussing the pros and cons of combining the exchanges into one filing versus multiple filings, and said that there might be some advantage to filing before the end of year. Vanderschwer suggested scheduling a work session in the next few months just for this item and inviting the water lawyer. Finally, Gracely announced that June is his last month of employment at LRE Water. He has accepted a position as water planning practice leader at Plummer and suggested that his colleagues Helen Melinda Lawrence and Kelsey Briggs act as co-leads in the interim to keep Donala informed. He noted that Plummer occupies the same building as LRE Water on Auraria Parkway in Denver, and the two firms have collaborated in the past and have a non-compete agreement. Director comments. Vanderschwer announced that he is now officially on the MVEA board as a director for District 3 and has attended an orientation meeting and his first regular board meeting on June 17. He will serve in that capacity in addition to his role at DWSD as board president, having confirmed with legal counsel on both sides that there is no conflict of interest. He said that MVEA is concerned about the pending federal budget bill and what would be funded or not, noting that renewables and fiber optics have been getting federal subsidies. This is also a concern for Tri-State Generation and Transmission Association and other peer organizations. Executive session. The meeting ended with an executive session to discuss security arrangements or investigations related to security measures for maintenance technicians and water operators and personnel matters related to maintenance technicians and water operators. The next board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 17 at 1:30 p.m. Generally, board meetings are held the third Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m. and include online access. Call 719-488-3603 or access www.donalawater.org to receive up-to-date meeting information. The district office is located at 15850 Holbein Drive, Colorado Springs. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Triview Metropolitan District, June 19, bond funding approved, director positions assigned. By Natalie Barsh. At the Triview Metropolitan District, TMD, meeting on June 19, the board approved an amendment to the 2025 budget to incorporate funding for the Higbee Road project and up to $12.6 million in bonds to move forward with the project. An economic incentive policy and an updated policy for developer water fees were also approved. The directors assigned board positions and received multiple updates. The board held an executive session to discuss the purchase and sale of water and land, economic incentive agreements, and agreements with the Town of Monument, TOM, and other governmental and private entities. Board positions assigned. The board unanimously assigned the board positions. 2025 Budget Amendment. President Jason Gross opened a public hearing on the 2025 budget amendment. District Manager James McGrady said the amendment was prompted by an influx of cash from the issuance of the $12.6 million bond and additional expenditures from the Public Works Capital Improvement Fund for the construction costs for the Higbee Road improvements. The 2025 budget did not include funds for the Higbee Road improvements, because the district did not know it would be issued bond financing. The budget needs to be adjusted accordingly, even though the district does not anticipate a bond payment in 2025 but will have two payments in 2026, said McGrady. General Counsel George Rowley said it is standard procedure to acknowledge that the district will be receiving additional unplanned revenue. State law requires the district amend the budget to reflect the additional funding when the district ends up spending more than anticipated, said Rowley. Gross closed the public comment hearing on the 2025 budget amendment. The budget was amended to reflect $8.5 million in the 2025 budget, not the full bond amount. The district does not anticipate spending more than the amended amount on Higbee Road in 2025. The project is expected to be completed in 2026. The board unanimously approved Resolution 2025-10, amending the 2025 budget. Bond issuance. McGrady requested the board review and consider approving Resolution 2025-2007, a resolution of the TMD Board of Directors, issuing a $12.6 million bond for the Higbee Road project. The board unanimously approved the resolution. Higbee Road Improvement Project. McGrady requested the board approve Resolution 2025-11, a resolution to widen and improve Higbee Road. He said the TOM had issued a plat note denying approval of further development in the north of the district without assurance that Higbee Road will be widened. The district will present the resolution with the financial plan to the Planning Commission to comply with the plat note. The district has received solid bids with a maximum price of about $12.4 million to build the road. The district occasionally takes on large projects such as the widening of Jackson Creek Parkway for about $6.6 million in 2018. See https://wp.ocn.me v25n6tmd. Director Eric Demkowick said he hopes the town knows that the TMD residents are paying for the road improvements for everyone's benefit. Groh said the project is an important safety priority, and the town worked with the district to incorporate the road from El Paso County. Somehow in the agreement the town incorporated the road, but the TMD residents are paying for the project. The board unanimously approved the resolution. Economic Incentive Policy. The board also approved Resolution 2025-2008, an economic incentive policy. An economic incentive package was approved in April for the development located south of Monument Marketplace, however the district's incentive policy required approval and some amendments for future large retail projects. See https://wp. OCN.me.v25n5tmd/. Rowley said it is a net positive to give up some development proposals to allow for larger retail projects with at least 100,000 square feet of retail space, generating at least $500,000 in sales tax for the district, according to the sales tax share back from the intergovernmental agreement with the TOM, and a minimum of 50 full-time employment opportunities is included in the policy. The district receives 1.5% in sales tax with 0.5% dedicated to renewable water from the TOM for sales tax collected within the district. The policy allows for some fees to be waived, he said. The board unanimously approved the resolution with 2 amendments. Developer fees. The board also unanimously approved Resolution 2025-2009, a revised schedule setting water fees and development requirements in lieu of fees for developers. Operations Report. McGrady said the following. The district continues to supply renewable water to customers, with good inflows of water coming in from the district's water rights. Consumer demands are being met by the Northern Delivery System, NDS, with a little well pumping to maintain the wells, delivering 80% to 90% of the water from renewable sources. The water rights plan is working appropriately, with received flows diverted into the South Reservoir. Any excess flow will be exchanged into Pueblo Reservoir in readiness for the winter months. The augmentation station diversion structure on the Arkansas Valley Irrigation Company Ditch, Buena Vista, has been completed, and it was scheduled to be operational by June 27. The district received the first invoice for the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor design. The district is working hard to move the Higbee Road project forward. Assistant Manager's Report. Assistant Manager Steve Sheffield said. The district has about 15 Badger meters left to be replaced between residential/commercial properties. The district is working on the engineering standards to ensure compliance with the latest construction practices. The Sanctuary Point Park sporting field reservations are down from 2024, but the district has received a large number of reservations for the fall season. Revenue water/non-revenue water. Water Treatment Superintendent Gary Potter said he continues to research water loss, known in the industry as revenue water/non-revenue water. The team is working together to combat the problem from both ends, finding apparent loss, such as meters not entered into the system correctly, incorrect meter input, and active leak detection services. Water loss in a system with 66 miles of distribution pipe is inevitable, and the district will never achieve zero loss, he said. The American Water Works Association used to quote under 10% as acceptable loss but has moved away from that figure because one-size-fits-all does not work for all systems. The district is at 6.35% loss for May, and when all avenues have been explored over the next several months, the team will need to determine how much water loss is an economically recoverable amount. The degree to which the district puts money into researching water loss will change over time, said Potter. Sheffield said the average water system loses 15% to 20% monthly. Utilities update. Potter also said the following. The A plant, Oxbow Drive, will be decommissioned due to the 2 wells being transferred to B plant, St. Lawrence Way. The plant will be used for vehicle storage or sold to another district. A laser flow meter was installed at the Upper Monument Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility, UMCRWWTF, to measure the accuracy of the district's wastewater flumes. The collection of data over the next month will determine flow accuracy. The NDS produced 80% of the district's water in May, with a little higher well water pumped due to the work taking place at B Plant Yard. Kudos for staff volunteers. Parks and Open Space Superintendent Matt Reno said the district staff had received a letter of gratitude from the president of the Pikes Peak Soapbox Derby for providing volunteers from the Public Works Department from May 31 to June 2. The event closed Higbee Road and would not have been successful without the district's support and Tom Martinez from the town of Monument. Pothole reporting. Reno said pothole patching typically occurs in spring and about 250 pounds of asphalt has been used to repair issues in 2025. Residents can use the district website to report pothole issues that occur within the district's area of responsibility. Note, the district is not responsible for the commercial property areas and Baptist Road. Executive session. The board moved into an executive session at about 8:42 p.m. to discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal or other property interests needed by the district, pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes, CRS, Section 24-6-402A, and to receive legal advice pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402-4B, as it relates to water matters and agreements with the TOM, and other governmental and private entities including Creekside Developments, LLC, and associated entities. The session also determined the district's positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, related to the purchase and sale of water and land, economic incentive agreements, and agreements with the TOM, and other governmental and private entities including Creekside Developments LLC and associated entities, pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402-4B. Sheffield confirmed to this reporter that when the board returned to the regular session at 9:17 p.m., no action was taken by the board, and the meeting promptly adjourned. Meetings are usually held on the third Thursday of the month at the district office located at 16055 Old Forest Point, Suite 302. The next regular meeting is scheduled for July 17 at 5:30 p.m. For meeting agendas, minutes, and updates, visit https://triviewmetro.com. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, June 26, Board hears progress report. By James Howell. At a brief meeting in June, the El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, EPCRLWA, or the Loop, Board heard a progress report from its interim workflow manager Mark Valentine. Valentine coordinates the work of the consulting and engineering firms the Loop has contracted with, which include JVA Consulting Engineers, the company responsible for water quality testing, Burns and McDonnell, responsible for the design of lift stations, pipelines, and the water treatment facility, BBA Water Consultants Incorporated, which provides water resource modeling and reservoir sizing analysis, Western States Land Services LLC, which acquires easements and other land as required, and Merrick & Company, where Valentine is a project manager. The board voted on an amendment to its contract with BBA and heard a financial report from Corbin from & Company LLC, the Loop's accounting firm. The meeting ended with an executive session. Progress report. Valentine told the board that JVA had sampled the water in the Chilkat Ditch, which diverts water from Fountain Creek to the Calhoun Reservoir, the previous day. Dan LaFontaine, who represents the Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, WWSD, on the Loop's board, said that a blockage on the Chilkat Ditch required the water sample to be taken from a different location than previous samples. LaFontaine is WWSD's operations superintendent. Valentine said that water testing costs have risen temporarily due to more frequent testing. He said he had attended several meetings with Burns and McDonnell to discuss water treatment requirements. The first meeting to discuss lift stations and pipelines was scheduled for early July, Valentine said. Rebecca Hutchinson, an engineer with Merrick, told the board that the Survey Control Network, a system of land survey markers used by all the consultants to ensure consistent boundaries and locations, was in place and accessible. She said Merrick had circulated a request for proposal regarding reservoir design for comments on behalf of the loop. Valentine said he was discussing the potential purchase of the Sundance pipeline with its owner, Cherokee Metropolitan District. Contract amended. The board voted unanimously to amend its contract with BBA to expand the scope of work that company is responsible for. The contract specifies the new scope of work can be completed for $12,400. Financial report. From told the board that invoices totaling $98,897 had been received in June, with services from Merrick being the largest cost. The board voted unanimously to authorize From to pay the invoices. From said the loop had spent just over $196,000 in 2025 to date, or about 4% of its budget for the year. Schaefer said bringing additional consultants and engineers on board would increase the pace of spending. The next regular meeting is scheduled for July 17 at 9 a.m. Regular meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall at 645 Beacon Light Road. Workshop meetings are held the first Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall. Please see loopwater.org or call 719-488-3603 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Monument Fire District, June 25, Board vacancy filled, workforce study approved. By Natalie Barsh. At the Tri-Lakes Monument Fire Protection District, TLMFPD, DBA Monument Fire District, MFD, meeting on June 25, the board filled the vacant board position, approved funding for a workforce analysis study, and received presentations on the MFD and the Donald Westcott Fire Protection District, DWFPD, 2024 audits. The board received multiple updates and heard about the search for an accreditation manager and the delay in reoccupying the remodeled Station 2, North Roller Coaster Road. The board also held a public hearing before approving an inclusion of property, accepted a petition for an inclusion of property, and set a public hearing for July 23. The meeting was preceded by a MFD, formerly DWFPD, Volunteer Pension Fund Board of Trustees meeting. Director Randall Estes attended the meeting at 4:40 p.m. Board Director Vacancy Decision. President Mark Gunderman said the board had reviewed letters of interest from Tim de Leon and Andre Mouton as potential candidates willing to serve the remaining 2 years of former board secretary Jason Buckingham's term. Both candidates introduced themselves, gave career and neighborhood background information, and answered several questions from board members relating to availability to attend meetings and why they want to serve the community. Vice President John Hildebrandt said, "It was like the National Football League draft, a difficult decision, both great candidates, and in 2 years another board vacancy will become available. The district would love to have both candidates." In a 4-2 vote, Treasurer Tom Kelly/Estes, the board elected de Leon, Deputy Chief of Colorado Springs Fire Department. Note, all 7 board members reside in unincorporated El Paso County, with 4 members residing in the former DWFPD area of coverage. Financial update. Kelly said the district is at 41.6% of the total budget year to date as of May 31, and presented the following. The combined overall revenue received year to date was about $12.922 million, or about 53.3% of the 2025 income projected annual revenue set at about $24.235 million. Overall expenses year to date were about $7.412 million, and about 39.5% of the projected expense budget set at about $18.764 million. The district had about $22.182 million in total checking/savings with about $16.981 million in the General Operations Fund. The board accepted the financial report as presented, 5-0. Property inclusion petitions. Gunderman opened a public hearing for a petition for the inclusion of real property into the district, for joint owners Chad Calvert and Sarah Hagedorn, 40 Walker Road, Colorado Springs, or 4165 Vista Heights Drive, Colorado Springs, pending. Hearing no opposition, In a roll call vote, the board unanimously approved Resolution 2025-2006 granting the inclusion into the district. The board unanimously accepted a petition for inclusion from Walton Ranch LLC located at 16750 Thompson Road, Colorado Springs, and set a public hearing date for July 23 at 4:30 p.m. 2024 Audit Presentations. The board received the 2024 audit presentations for DWFPD and MFD from Auditor Mitchell Downs of CBIZ. Downs said the document was still in draft form and will undergo 3 more reviews before being finalized. He said a lot of hard work had gone into the audit compared to previous years, and the presentation was at the request of Director of Administration Jennifer Martin. However, no major changes were anticipated. Martin requested Downs forward a letter to confirm no other issues are found when the audits are finalized. Workforce Analysis Study. Fire Chief Andy Kovacs said as part of the accreditation peer team evaluation in May, one of the recommendations was to add staff to help with the burden of all the administrative duties and relieve some of the workload, recommending an administrative assistant to support Martin. When the district seeks accreditation in August, the board will expect to see some recommendations implemented. He said the study would be looking at the following additional positions. Eliminate the rotating executive battalion chief position and replace with a division chief of operations position to reduce the fire chief span of control. 2 fire inspectors for 2025 to assist Division Chief of Community Risk Reduction Jonathan Bradley with the Wildland Urban Interface home and commercial building inspections, and public education events. A part-time or full-time administrative assistant in 2025 to assist the Director of Administration position. Internal IT Director to support the accreditation manager. A district mechanic to maintain the fleet. Kovacs requested the board approve Mix Consulting to perform a workforce analysis, not to exceed $20,000, with funding sourced from the administrative expenses/consulting fees budget. The board unanimously approved the study. Sun Hills Property. Gunderman said he and Kovacs had discussed the sale of 15,000 Sun Hills Drive, the former DWFPD Station 3. Former Westcott Director Charles Fleece had asked about the status of the property. When the district moves into 19775 Mitchell Avenue this year, the Sun Hills property will not be needed for storage, and it is a liability for the district to keep it, Gunderman said. There are no restrictions to selling the property, but the Sun Hills HOA has concerns over the sale of a small parcel property that could lead to 5-acre lots being subdivided. The Homeowners Association Board may have an interest in purchasing the property for a community center if they can meet the price. The property was assessed at about $400,000 during the merger process, said Gunderman. See https://wp. OCN.me.v24n7mfd. Kovacs said the board may want to consider the impact to Emergency Incident Support, a nonprofit group using the property for vehicle and supply storage. Station 2 Remodel Update. Division Chief of Administration Jamie Bumgarner said due to the HVAC system not cooling correctly, the reoccupy of Station 2 has been delayed. The final punch list is 98% complete and crews will move in when fully completed, he said. Chief's Report. Kovacs said. The district is actively recruiting for the accreditation manager position and has received several applications. The position is being vacated by Battalion Chief Scott Ridings, who is retiring from duty on August 9. Lieutenant Kevin Richmond will retire on July 31 after over 30 years with 15 served in district. The district staff completed 656 hours of training in May. A new ambulance has been received to replace the 6-year-old ambulance at Station 5. The frontline ambulance will be placed into reserve with about 300,000 miles on the odometer. Note, the Chief's report can be found at www.monumentfire.org. Department Communications. Gunderman thanked Board Chair Kirsten Tarvainen of Black Forest Fire Rescue Protection District, BFFRPD, for attending the meeting and said he plans to attend the July 16 BFFRPD Board of Directors meeting in an effort to keep the lines of communication open between the two boards. The meeting adjourned at 6:09 p.m. Volunteer Pension Fund Board of Trustees meeting. Trustee Mike Badger said that legally the former DWFPD Volunteer Pension Fund, VPF, is now known as the TLMFT VPF, as indicated on the financial packet the board received before the meeting. The financial packet was incomplete without the allocation report, and after speaking to the Firefighters Police Pension Association before the meeting, no one has access to the report, but that will be rectified, said Badger. Badger also said, the pension fund began 2024 at $914,896 and ended the year at $927,462, with a $12,565 increase for the year. Due to all of the volatility in the stock market in the first quarter of 2025, the pension fund is at $912,849, likely due to investments. In the past, the pension fund has been gaining funds, but the pension is stock market dependent and will fluctuate. Another former volunteer has become age eligible for a pension and he has applied for a pension. There is one other former volunteer eligible to apply in a couple of years. By the time the board meets again on November 12 at 4 p.m., the second and third quarter figures should be available, along with the actuarial study. In the interim, if any other information becomes available, the board will be forwarded the information, said Badger. The meeting adjourned at 4:15 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the fourth Wednesday every month. The next regular meeting is scheduled for July 23 at 4:30 p.m. at Station 1, 18650 Highway 105. For Microsoft Teams virtual joining instructions, agendas, minutes, and updates, visit www.monumentfire.org or contact Director of Administration Jennifer Martin at 719-484-9011. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. El Paso County Planning Commission, June 19. Commission recommends disapproval of Flying Horse East Sketch Plan. By Marlene Brown. At the June 19 meeting of the El Paso County Planning Commission, EPCPC, Ryan Hauser, Principal Planner, Planning and Community Development, presented a request for approval of the sketch plan from applicant H.R. Green representing Flying Horse Land Company, LLC for Flying Horse East, Phase 1. The property is located at Highway 94 and Enoch Road, about 7.5 miles east of Falcon and adjacent to Schriever Space Force Base. Flying Horse East is in the initial planning stage and will have future phases and filings, as the filings get built out, if approved. The Phase 1 plan consists of 1,821.3 acres, to include 818 acres of about 4,500 residential units, 31.2 acres for commercial use, 89.9 acres for institutional use, including schools, police and fire department utilities administration, 521.1 acres of designated land for mixed use, 47.7 acres of right-of-way, 30.6 acres of open space, 96.6 acres of dedicated stormwater detention and 186.1 acres set aside for preservation of natural floodway that flows through the property. Upon completion, Flying Horse East is projected to occupy 5,500 acres with hotels, restaurants, a resort with golf course, 30,000 residential units, and over 100,000 residents. The timeline would be at least 5 to 10 years for approval and beginning construction. See www.flyinghorseeast.com. A resident of the area spoke at the hearing regarding traffic concerns. Just in the last 5 years, they said, the traffic on Highway 94 has become bumper to bumper going to and from work at Schriever Space Force Base, and more complete traffic studies are sought. The Colorado Department of Transportation has had Highway 94 on its list of future projects but has not begun improvements. Commissioners expressed concern about the mixed-use units being so close to the base, needing a larger land buffer, according to federal mandates. The EPCPC voted 3-5 against the sketch plan being approved at this time and requested that changes be made to follow federal and state mandates and the county master plan. See the Electronic Development Application Review Program, EDARP, at https://epcdevplanreview.com for details and supporting documents for Project SKP 242 Flying Horse East. The EPCPC staff has been working on and is scheduled to present updates to the master plan on July 17. The EPCPC normally meets the first Thursday and if required the third Thursday of each month at the Regional Development Center, 2880 International Circle, Colorado Springs. For more information, call 719-520-6300 or to watch the meetings live or recorded go to https://cloud.castis.tv/vod/elpasoco/?page=home. Due to vacation schedules, the calendar for EPCPC shows only one meeting in July, on the July 17th, and one in August, on August 7th. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Letters to our community, urgent need for conservatives to run for D38 Board of Education. District 38 needs 2 conservatives to step up and run for Palmer Lakes and North Woodmoor school board seats this fall. The need is urgent. As with most conservative communities across the country, we have organized progressives here with media-directed axes to grind. They are disproportionately vocal on social media, repeating whatever propaganda is served to them, be it forced masking, the COVID jab, DEI, and, above all else, LGBTQ advocacy. If there's a Facebook frame for it, they will believe it. And push it on the rest of us. The grip the teachers' union has on the country provides an infrastructure for their activism and a pool of volunteers and potential candidates for school boards. Conservatives don't have this because they didn't embed themselves into our education system. On the contrary, conservatives have been rooted out. What a difference it would make if conservatives joined the fight. And our schools taught American exceptionalism instead of multiculturalism, individual responsibility instead of collective guilt, and virtue instead of hedonism. Sitting back and waiting for the Facebook frame people to produce your next 2 board members is a terrible idea. This town is full of intelligent, educated, perceptive, well-spoken conservatives. Please answer the call to help our community. Board members meet twice a month. Candidates need to pick up paperwork and collect signatures in August. Anyone interested looking for more information is free to reach me. Derek Araje. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN, even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community: scrub oak, gamble oak, pine needles and other debris. Let me introduce myself. I have a BS in forestry, 1960, and a PhD in forestry, 1995, which included studies in wildland fire behavior. I first attended a U.S. Forest Service fire and lookout school at age 14 at my dad's remote ranger station in the Idaho wilderness. That would not be possible today. I continued to attend through age 17 when I was hired as a wildland firefighter on 2 two-man fires and a 14-man fire. This was before my senior year of high school. I continued as a wildland firefighter at a Forest Service ranger district in Montana while in college. This included very large fire in central Idaho and a one-man fire when the district ranger ran out of crew. While serving on a range survey crew for the BLM near Madeline, California, a fire started nearby on the base of McDonald Peak. Since I was the only one with wildland fire experience, I became the leader of an ad hoc fire crew. We almost had the fire under control when the wind and sun came up, resulting in a 50,000-acre fire. So, it can be said that I know a little about vegetation and wildland fire. I live in North Woodmoor and it bothers me to see residents raking up pine needles and other debris, except to protect lawns, while continuing to let scrub oak grow. Scrub oak is highly flammable and a danger to our neighborhoods, while pine needles are not. Pine needles should be looked upon as mulch and long-term fertilizer. John Schumaker, Ph.D. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN, even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Between the covers at Covered Treasures Bookstore, summer fun has begun. By the staff at Covered Treasures. Summer's lease hath all too short a date, William Shakespeare. It's time to get outside and enjoy the sunshine. Whether you are a fan of staying close to home or traveling, any of these books will be a great companion. Included are titles that are fun activities for the kids. Walk, Find Your Path to Happiness and Mindfulness in Nature. By Sholto Radford, Quadrille Publishing, $20. If you aren't already hooked on the many pleasures of being outside in Colorado, Walk invites you to explore the benefits to be gained from the simple act of walking, hiking, and spending time outdoors. A great natural way to boost your mind, body and soul. Walking is simple and free. Without the need for special equipment or personal training, it is just about the easiest way to become more active, lose weight, and get healthier. This book offers guidance and practical exercises to cultivate emotional and physical well-being. Wildflowers of Colorado Field Guide. By Don Mamoser with Stan Tequila, Adventure Publications, $18.95. With the help of this field guide by professional nature photographer Don Mamoser and award-winning author and naturalist Stan Tequila, you can identify the wildflowers you see while on your walks. This backpack-size book has color photos of about 200 of the most common and important species found in our state. Organized by color, the full-page photographs provide visual detail needed for identification. Fact-filled information on each species is included. This book is one of a series of field guides, including Birds of Colorado, Mammals of Colorado, Rocks and Minerals of Colorado, and others. Family Camping, Everything You Need to Know for a Night Outdoors with Loved Ones. By Charlie S., Falcon Press, $25. The Ultimate Camping Handbook. Whether you're with family or friends, camping, or in your backyard, Family Camping has everything you'll need for a perfect experience. Part inspiration, part practical knowledge, this book is a whole lot of fun. Family Camping offers up food and drink recipes, family activities, nature hacks, expert know-how, and more for the outdoor lover. Birding Colorado. By High Kingery, Falcon Press, $30. Birding Colorado is a guide to the best birdwatching sites in Colorado, from national parks and wildlife refuges to marshes, mountains, and canyons. Organized by region, each site description informs readers on habitats, visiting information, and birds you'll encounter. What sets this book apart is the extra information on bird status and bird habitat that has made it more than a mere site guide and earned a place in the Denver Audubon's curriculum. Stargazing for Kids, An Introduction to Astronomy. By Jonathan Pop-Pele, Adventure Publications, $13. Author, educator, and naturalist Jonathan Pop-Pele presents a kid's introduction to the night sky. Ideal for early and middle grade readers, this book conveys fascinating information for beginners. Kids gain an understanding of stars, our solar system, and deep sky objects. From there, readers are introduced to more than 25 constellations that are important to know and easy to locate. A season-by-season tour of the night sky provides advice to help experience success while stargazing, with practical tips on locating each constellation. There are also ideas for the entire family to enjoy, a wonderful way to turn stargazing into a shared hobby. Where's Waldo? Words on the Go, Play, Puzzle, Search and Solve, a hidden object activity book with crossword puzzles, word search and find. By Martin Handford, Candlewick Press, $15. Words, words, words. Get ready to try tricky crosswords and word searches, crack some codes, wrangle with riddles, and come up with puns and acronyms, all while searching for Waldo and his pals. This search and find wordplay book also boasts a matching pairs card game suited for playing solo or with friends and is a great way to keep youngsters occupied while on a car or plane trip. The Highlights Big Book of Activities for Little Kids, the ultimate book of activities to do with kids, 200+ crafts, recipes, puzzles and more for kids. By Highlights Press, $20. This book is packed with over 200 engaging, repeatable activities tailor-made for toddlers and preschoolers to share with their favorite grown-ups. These fun activities are expertly designed to help kids develop fine and gross motor skills, critical thinking, social-emotional skills, and more. Inviting questions are designed to spur thinking and conversation. Until next month, happy reading. The staff at Covered Treasures can be reached at books@ocn.me. High Altitude Nature and Gardening, Hang, Gardening with Nature's Beautiful Bouncers. By Janet Sellers. Here we are, mid-season for landscaping and garden beds. We need to know how to protect them. In our natural local ecosystem, plants and nature co-evolve to thrive. That is their job. But we humans make changes to places. Homes and tracts or ranches can severely imbalance natural spaces. Can we keep what we like and deter what we don't, including pests of the insect and animal kind? Key to success is keeping nature's helpers in the landscape. They work around the clock. Mint, the strong, fresh scent of mint is a well-known deer deterrent. Garlic, the smell of garlic effectively keeps deer away. Lavender's strong, floral scent is disliked by deer. The spicy smell of hot pepper flakes or cinnamon are scents deer, rabbits, squirrels, and cats tend to avoid. Coffee grounds mask the scent of plants and deter invaders, too. Deer avoid double fencing. Having a second 4 to 5 foot garden perimeter fence helps, since deer don't want to get caught or stuck there. Fenced yards with dogs can be a good resource. For millennia, canine companions have had the job of protection for communities, landscapes, farms, and homes. For example, in Scotland, the shelted dog had traditional jobs to bark, herd, and deter, protecting food gardens from sheep and other animals. Plant bouncers, decoys, and enforcers. Knowing about plant helpers supports our landscapes amid the natural systems we live in. We need native plants for our places to thrive, milkweed, goldenrod, and so on. Finding the best native plants to add in our gardens is a win-win. They are ready to go to work, thrive, and bloom locally. Natural insect bouncers function and are safe. Man-made pesticides, which are actually insecticides, kill all insects, the good and bad. Nature already has our answers to issues we wouldn't have if we actually knew how to do gardening with nature. Nicole Johnsey Burke of Gardenery.com shares her tips for us, such as: beautiful bouncers deter by scent, mint, use in pots or it goes all over, basil, lavender, rosemary, sage. Second are garlic and chives, which have gorgeous global flowers, by the way. Garlic can line up alongside the greens, marigolds, particularly the yellow, short French marigolds in the aster family, as good border control. Decoys, sacrifice plants, feed pests that get through our bouncers, nasturtiums, zinnias, and sunflowers to name a few. Dill, fennel, and carrot family plants attract caterpillars and stop their entry to our favored plants. We can attract what Burke calls the enforcers, good bugs that powerfully control pests, ladybugs, certain kinds of small parasitic wasps, not bad guys, and others that feast on the pests we don't want eating our gardens. They are attracted to the flowers of the carrot family, cilantro, parsley, dill, and others, then feast on the bad bugs, larvae, and caterpillars. Adding in pollinator-friendly flowers with pollen such as cosmos, coreopsis, and zinnias attract our garden helpers, too. Moles are carnivorous and eat insects and grubs, daily consuming up to 100% of their body weight in these. Their presence indicates an overabundance of pests, they are only after the pests. But their digging can damage the garden. Trap and release removal, far away from the hood, works, but owning a cat that enjoys walking through garden beds is a very effective, historical deterrent to rodents, footsteps leaving predator pheromones and deterring garden pests. Castor oil in a dry spread made with a mix of a pound of clay cat litter and a cup of castor oil works well, repeat after rains. Low-tech methods, kids' pinwheels placed here and there on the lawn or a homemade plastic bottle thumper with finned plastic bottles near a mole entrance. Janet Sellers shares proven, lazy gardening tips and ideas to help us thrive in our high-altitude desert mountain climate. Contact her at janetsellers@ocn.me. Art Matters, the many benefits of outdoor art and arts events. By Janet Sellers. Public art creates stronger communities and can even help save lives. Our local monthly art hop gives us the chance to make our community a fun place to live and connect with neighbors and visitors. On the fourth Friday of the month, 5 to 7 p.m., May through September, our art hop is a time to be in town and mingle with friends and visitors for hours of art and refreshment. Besides the sculpture park scene from 2nd Street, there are always numerous sculptures around town at the Monument Town Hall, along Beacon Light Road and along the Santa Fe Trail and many other places in town. These are visible all the time, too. Art in public places fosters connection, shared identity, and dialogue, turning spaces into gathering points. It can reduce isolation, inspire hope, and spark critical conversations about social issues. By humanizing environments and promoting inclusion, public art can strengthen communities, improve mental health, and even help prevent violence or despair. Through art in public places, the wayfaring and calming effects of having public art offer intriguing, powerful impacts for public safety and pride of place, especially in placemaking. Art in public places is a moniker for artworks available for the public to view outdoors or indoors. These often show diversity in style, imagery, materials, and techniques. Art in public places as a genre has a goal to merge the art experience into public spaces. The Art in Public Places official source for the town of Monument is known as ArtSites, and we can download a phone application that informs about each artwork. The app is called Autocast, and in the narrated audio guide, each artist tells in their own words about their artwork. https://app.autocast.com/guide/monumentco_artsites. The ArtSites for the town of Monument makes a call for artists each year, and a jury decides on the winners to be exhibited that year throughout the area. This year in June, new sculptures were installed and can be seen at the Monument Town Hall, along the Santa Fe Trail route, as well as in the Sculpture Park lawns at 2nd and Jefferson Streets. Many states, counties, cities, and towns mandate capital construction and renovation funds, usually 1% of those funds. For example, in Colorado, the 1% for Art program, officially the Art in Public Places program, allocates 1% of state capital construction funds for new or renovated state buildings toward the acquisition of public art. This program, administered by Colorado Creative Industries, ensures that public spaces are enhanced with art and aims to support artists and enrich communities. Denver, Boulder, and other cities also have their own 1% for Art programs, which dedicate a portion of city-funded capital improvement projects to public art. The benefits of the state and local programs provide access to art for all, activate public spaces, grow civic pride, and support artists, especially local artists. Art in Public Places offers a human scale to larger spaces, invites experiences and interactivity for people walking, illustrates or reflects a story or history of the place, and improves wayfinding. The QR code shown here goes to the link for Autocast and the stories of the artworks narrated by the artists themselves. Janet Sellers is an artist, writer, and speaker, offering talks, workshops, and art in public places for Colorado museums and communities. Contact Janet at janetsellers@ocn.me. Our Community Notices. By Janet Sellers. Although we strive for accuracy in these listings, dates or times are often changed after publication. Please double-check the time and place of any event you wish to attend by calling the information number for that event. Please notify us if your event listing needs to be updated. Be Bear Smart and do your part. Secure trash in a garage, shed, or other secure structure. Trash bins should only be outside of the secure structure on trash collection days from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. The majority of homes will already meet this requirement with standard practices. For those who cannot store their trash in a secured structure, they will need to obtain a bear-resistant trash can. Certified bear-resistant waste containers can be provided by your trash collection company, or you can purchase bear-resistant devices such as locks, ratchet straps, and more, including bear-resistant trash cans, that also deter other animals like raccoons and dogs. Here is a link from Alaska Department of Wildlife video to attach a ratchet strap. https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=m northwest KL 7T5Y. Trash can ratchet locks are available for as little as under $20. Bears are smart and they learn quickly that garbage is an abundant and reliable food source, said Frank McGee, Area Wildlife Manager for Colorado Parks and Wildlife. But a diet of garbage is terrible for bears and brings them into close proximity to people, which is dangerous for them and us. By securing our trash, we deny bears easy meals and discourage them from coming into town. We help keep them wild and alive in the forest, where they belong, not in someone's garage or the path of a car, behaviors that can get them killed. When thunder roars, go indoors. Lightning can strike even out of a blue sky. Always keep in mind that if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Seek shelter immediately in a sturdy building or, if a building is not available, a hard-topped vehicle with the windows rolled up. When indoors, refrain from using corded appliances or other equipment or facilities that put you in contact with electrical systems or plumbing. Stay inside until the storms have moved away and thunder is no longer audible. This is very important, since lightning can and occasionally does strike well away from the thunderstorm itself. Stay alert with weather reports, and curtail your outdoor activities during that time, or ensure that you have constant access to a sturdy, fully enclosed shelter, such as a home or business. Tools for parents and teachers, https://www.weather.gov/safety/lightning-teachers. Black Forest/mulch program. Firewise mitigation, accepting tree branches, etc. Dumping fee for all loads will be $10 payment cash or check made out to Samcom. Pine needles are not accepted. Mulch is free to pick up. May through September, pick up mulch for your garden or property. Loader is available most Saturdays to speed up loading. 12375 Herring Road info including fire mitigation, forests, pine beetles, etc. https://bf/.org. Colorado EBT benefits available for local produce. Get up to $60 a month back on EBT card with a dollar-for-dollar match when buying fruits and vegetables at Colorado farmers markets and other locations with the Colorado SNAP Produce Bonus. Local vendors to the Tri-Lakes area are available at the Black Forest area at the Backyard Market and the Backyard Farm Shop, Saturdays, 6845 Shoup Road. More info, cdhs.colorado.gov/snap-produce-bonus. El Paso County Trailability Program Terrain Hoppers now available. Terrain hoppers in the nature centers at Fountain Creek and Bear Creek areas are off-road mobility vehicles that allow members of the El Paso County community and visiting guests with disabilities to experience trails previously inaccessible to them. Hike 1 to 3 miles through foothills and wetlands habitats with your friends, family, and a nature center staff or volunteer, May through October. Reservations required, participation is free. https://communityservices.elpasoco.com/trailability/. For more information on the Trailability program, please contact Teresa Odello at 719-520-6981 or by email at thereseodello@elpasoco.com. Forest and gardening volunteers needed. Friends of Fox Run Park will have some openings for student volunteers, and grown-ups, too, most of the year for various tasks. Besides tasks, the group offers information and skills demonstrations for each 2 to 3 hour session, and celebrates volunteers at the park with annual community events. The Tri-Lakes Cares on-site garden in Monument also needs volunteers in fall, spring, and summer. Gardening tasks include preparing garden beds, weeding, sowing seeds, and developing the compost. Bring gardening gloves, some tools will be provided on the workdays. Contact Janet Sellers at janetsellers@ocn.me or Marlene Brown at marlenebrown@ocn.me for more information. Parents helping parents. NAMI Parent and Caregiver Support Group is a no-cost, peer support program for parents, caregivers, and other family who provide care and support for youth, ages 19 and younger, who are struggling with mental health issues including depression, anxiety, school or peer pressure, substances and more. Facilitated by trained volunteers who have been in your shoes. Meeting is second Monday of each month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. via Zoom. Register online at namicoloradosprings.org. For more information, call the office at 719-473-8477 or email info@namicos.org. Get help in Larkspur. Larkspur Church has a food bank and care center that offer a good variety of non-perishable food items, as well as clothing for men, women, and children, some household items available too. We're here to help. If you are in need, or know someone who is, please reach out to Jeff at gethelp@larkspur.church. If you would like to donate, contact Jeff by the same email to arrange a pickup. Tri-Lakes Cares needs your support. Tri-Lakes Cares is the only food pantry and human services organization serving northern El Paso County through emergency relief and self-sufficiency programs. The community-based, volunteer-supported center is a critical resource for our neighbors in need. The best way to help support Tri-Lakes Cares is to donate. Visit https://tri-lakescars.org/donate to learn how to donate money, medical items, personal supplies, or food. Please check the web for current needs in our food pantry at https://tri-lakescars.org/donate/current-needs. Donation drop-off hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information about Tri-Lakes Cares or how you can help, contact Tri-Lakes Cares at 719-481-4864 or info@tri-lakescares.org. Black Forest Log School needs your help. Please help preserve the historic school for another 103 years. New exterior damage was discovered. It has exceeded the budget renovation funds. Friends of the Black Forest Log School, a 501c3 corporation, appreciates your donation. Please send a check or bring cash to Black Forest Community Foundation, 6770 Shoup Road, Black Forest, Colorado 90808. www.bflogschool.com. Monument Academy Traffic. To ensure a smoother experience for non-school traffic, it is recommended finding an alternate route if possible that avoids this area during the school drop-off pickup times Monday through Thursday 7 to 8:30 a.m. and 2:45 to 4 p.m. and Friday 7 to 8:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. WMI needs volunteers. The Museum of Mining and Industry is currently recruiting for visitor services associates and guides. Please consider sharing your time and expertise. Volunteers must be 18 and older and pass a background check. For information about volunteer opportunities, please call 719-488-0880 or email at volunteer@wimi.org. Community volunteers. Many students need volunteer hours for scouting, civics classes, clubs, or would just like to volunteer for the good of it. Friends of Fox Run Park will have some openings for student volunteers, and grown-ups, too, most of the year for various tasks. Besides tasks, the group offers information and skills demonstrations for each 2 to 3 hour session, and celebrates volunteers at the park with annual community events. The Tri-Lakes Cares on-site garden in Monument also needs volunteers in fall, spring, and summer. Gardening tasks include preparing garden beds, weeding, sowing seeds, and developing the compost. Bring gardening gloves, some tools will be provided on the workdays. Contact Janet Sellers at janetsellers@ocn.me or Marlene Brown at marlenebrown@ocn.me for more information. Can you volunteer today? Links to local organizations with an immediate need for volunteers are listed on the county's website, www.elpasocountyhealth.org/volunteering-and-donations for groups like Care and Share, Crossfire Ministries, Blood Donations, Early Connections, Volunteer from Home Opportunity, Foster an Animal, Medical Reserve Corps of El Paso County, Salvation Army, Silver Key, and United Way, Ongoing Opportunities. The Colorado State University Extension Office in El Paso County has several opportunities for individuals interested in volunteering. https://elpaso.extension.coloradostate.edu/volunteer-opportunities. El Paso County volunteer-based and nonprofit organizations rely on the hard work of individuals like you. Find out how you can play a part by becoming a volunteer in El Paso County. Get involved in El Paso County volunteering nonprofits and organizations. https://www.americantowns.com/el-paso-county-co/volunteer-organizations/. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office Volunteer Program is composed of a collective citizens group with a true and common desire to partner with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office by volunteering their services while learning more about the internal workings of the law enforcement community. https://www.epcsheriffsoffice.com/volunteer-program-0. The El Paso County Volunteer Program is a wonderful opportunity for citizens to learn about the various functions of county government as well as give back to the community. The county's numerous boards and commissions need your experience, talents, and time. https://bocc.elpasoco.com/volunteer. Thank you for joining us for the audio versions of the articles and columns from this issue of OCN. To dive into the full articles and columns or explore more content, visit www.ocn.me. Don't miss out, sign up for our community newsletter to stay updated with every new post.